Guys, Joey here. So I'm testing Arc Raiders at 3440 by 1440
Apollo here. Here's a
with
tip, Raider.
the full cinematic
If
RTX
my
mode.
designs hold up, that's the
So
perfect time to stick them with an explosive or two.
you can see here, dynamic, epic, RTX, full cinematic, and TSR is the most stable of all the upscalers for AMD GPUs. At least according to benchmark games optimization guides. And yeah, so this is the performance max field of view, motion blur off, and how it looks. But unfortunately we don't maintain 60 once I go topside. You can see it, like once the view distance kicks in and everything. This is not the best spot to flick. I'm on, this is on the Blue Gate, so I think one of the more intensive maps, just because of all the foliage. And you can see here just this angle where you get the grass and everything moving. It didn't take me long to find the 50 FPS drop zone. So there we go, and that's at 99%. I do have the GPU clock capped, but that's on purpose. 2400 megahertz is the game clock that most GPUs will settle on over longer sessions once the max boost temp throttling kicks in. And it's actually the advertised game clock of the AMD and the some models of card have, while the max boost will push it up to 2800 megahertz, but it's not stable. You'll get random drops, you'll get inconsistent averages and 1% lows. So the reason I use 2400 is efficiency, because you want both efficiency and stability over like 1 hour, 2 hour gaming session. You don't want to like have the random jitter FPS drop caused by an uncapped boost, which is basically what the default driver does. It uncaps the boost beyond what the Sapphire or Power Color GPU brands advertise. So they have like a game clock and a max boost. That's ignored on the default driver profile. Like it actually will try to boost to 3000 megahertz, and because it can't, because that would obviously overheat, it settles around 2800, which is still higher than most advertised, unless you're running you're in a cold climate, and then you're bringing climate into play. Like if I was benchmarking in a different like in a really cold area with snow, in Russia or something, then I would be getting it would just affect the overall testing variance because of my climate. While 2400 is kind of like anyone can run 2400, can capture 2400 and get consistent, test results. So you can extrapolate. So if you're able to run 2800 and lock it there, and you see it's stable, then obviously you'd have a higher average FPS. But that doesn't make this testing irrelevant. Like obviously, it just means you might be 10, 15 FPS higher on average, right? But the main point is so you can actually see the difference in performance of the setting in the preset, and how upscaling either hurts or makes little difference but boosts performance. So now we'll chuck on the most logical thing is when we're trying to run for fidelity is to just enable the upscaling. So TSR, and we'll go down to 75% because that brings us down to 2580 by 1080. So we're upscaling from 1080p, and we'll see if that helps much. It actually doesn't. We only gain around 4 FPS, if that. But the game does feel responsive, like even without any frame generation or anything like that. Like you can see here, frame gen is off because we don't want that latency hit, or the fake frames. But when I move the mouse around, it's actually surprisingly good. Like I'm on a 144Hz monitor, and it feels good. Like, I don't know how combat would be though, like once you start shooting you might get more FPS drops. You can see the 99% though is actually really close to the average. So that could be the 9800X3D helping keep that up. But it's interesting. Let's see if I'm running around with the diving and stuff. Oh, there is a little bit of a drop on the 1%, it went down to 38. But not bad. It's pretty decent. Now, one thing I'll point out as well is that cinematic is not meant to be, like, for most setups, even the RX 7900 XTX, it is not meant to be the competitive gaming setting, obviously. And some of these settings are just performance killers for for virtually no gain. Like for example, shadows, foliage is just it hurts your competitive edge. Someone could be hiding in a bush, and if they're further away and they've got theirs turned down and you're also in the bush, they'll see you and you won't see them. So yeah, that's what I would turn down to low first. But shadows also tanks performance for like, even with RTX on, like it tanks performance for like no reason. You might see the shadows shift a little bit, but in reality, unless you're pixel peeping and staring down at the shadows constantly, it's just a slight variance in how it looks, but it doesn't actually look worse. So I'll give you an example here. So we're in 49 FPS in this, having on this tree, and just by turning that down to epic, we gain 6 FPS. So we're 49, we went to 55, and then turning it down to high, little difference on high. You can actually see that the shadows aren't even changing. That could be related to the way RTX is taking over some of the lighting. And then medium, okay, we gained like another 2 FPS, 2 or 3 FPS going down to medium, but just as that example, at least epic is more optimized than cinematic. It's not optimized at all. So I think maybe there was a bit more shadowing here on this tree, and then turning it down like hides that. Nope, can't even tell. But when you're actually playing, you're more often than not going to turn around and look, oh, where's that shadow coming from? Just like a waste of performance. And when we actually start running around, look at this. Now the 1% lows seem to be more stable. Start jumping a bit, that's what it calls in the results. If we still go down to 38. But on the upside, one of the biggest gains is the pop-in fix when you run cinematic view distance. It does hurt performance a fair bit, but as you can see, there's like nowhere near as much pop-in as you'd normally get, if any. I don't even know if there is any. The trees and everything just remain high fidelity. So like over there, that tree in the distance, pretty hard to get like a straight shot at a far tree. But you can see that there's no shifting in the trees that normally happens at the lower, like high even. They're less distracting. If anything, the shadows are the only distracting thing. There's like a slight far distance thing, but that is just built into the game, especially with RTX2. But at least you guys can see that. And then we can also, what are we doing here? We'll also just try, just to see, we're at 51. And if I turn the view distance down, I don't even need to exit out of the menu because it does it straight away. You saw that one tree transition. Go back to cinematic and it slowly re-renders back to the normal. It's weird how it does that. You can just see this tree here. It's really subtle. It just looks like the leaves are kind of changing to a different shade. The FPS difference though, down to epic. We're now at 68 in the same scene, and on cinematic we dropped to 54. So that's 50. So that is a massive, that's a pretty massive. So now, yeah, we gained like 17 FPS. You turning the distance down one notch. And let's see how when we run around if we do see the trees, the LOD of the trees, the level of details changing as much. Like you can see those trees off in the distance here, they look really thin. We'll see if they stay thin. Or if when we run closer, they're shifting and gaining leaves and stuff. Yeah.
An arc orbiter is en route.
It's pretty subtle. Like it's not bad how they've done it.
10 minutes to get out of there.
Like when I run back, I can see them losing leaves and thinning out. But that's 17 FPS, you know. And now we're running with a mix of like the fidelity with the 75% render scale still looks really crisp. Like you can see the textures and everything. The upscaling is doing a good job. And well, everything still looks really good. and we're up above 60. Get hunted. Oh, that's fair. Seriously gonna fall me? Oh wait. But I mainly wanted to show like the two major settings. I kind of like narrowed in on those. These are the main ones, and then the other one is just a competitive foliage. And then you can actually keep RTX up if you're just aiming for an above 60 experience with like really good fidelity. But there is like some other things I've noticed. You can turn textures down from cinematic, because when you load into maps, it'll actually cause the loading symbol to freeze due to the really high texture sizes. And there's also a little difference. I even double. There's also a little difference with the in-game texture. Like, it still looks really good at high, and I would recommend high, just because it also helps with depending on your system, your RAM, your CPU. Unless you're running the exact same setup as me, it can help with ground pop-in and stuff too. So like the, not pop-in, but the LOD of textures in the ground can be delayed at high texture settings. And the most annoying thing though is just loading into a map and seeing the loading symbol get frozen for a little bit as it loads the really high size textures. And I've tested that already. Like once I turn it down to high, it doesn't happen anymore. So this setting here, texture, this is bad. And it's weird, like, can you even see the difference? Even though it flicks to the lower version, once it's loaded, can you see the difference? Like, I can't tell. Like, maybe if you go stare at the ground, but I couldn't tell even looking at the ground. And then, as you can see, epic to high has no difference. Like, there's not even a flick. It's like the same. Maybe the sizes just changed, but the actual texture look hasn't changed. But if we look at the ground here, like, is it lost detail? No, it looks good. I'm pretty sure effects is tied to this as well, so if you've got effects turned up, it compensates a little bit. It adds like a little bit of the, I'm not sure, possibly the tessellation of like rocks and stuff sticking out of the ground, which makes it look detailed anyway. So we're at 77, but again, we want to see the actual, like, what's the most optimized settings you might want to run. And for me, it's turning down this. So you can see here, there's like a slight difference, but not really. Turning down RTX global illumination to, I think it was high. I've got this up here actually. So RTX global, static or dynamic high is like the two recommend. This is on, he didn't test cinematic, so that's why I went over cinematic first. But you can see here what he recommends turning down, like he recommends high or epic for view distance, but obviously we're going down from cinematic because that's 17 FPS. And if you're using TSR, low or medium because it has minimal effect on TSR, on the actual look of the game. Maybe there's a slight difference there. It looks a little bit more jagged over there in that grass. No, it's just placebo. Like once it's flicked over, you can't even tell anymore with the higher setting. It also looks grainy. But that's kind of like pixel peeping. You're kind of just gimping yourself a little bit, staring at it. So lower medium if you're using TSR, and then shadows medium or high, which we turn down. But look at this. The tree behind me, which I'm not going to turn around and look at normally when I'm playing, becomes a big blob at high. and then it becomes bigger on medium, and on low it's basically the same, more static and less animated. Yeah, there's no animation on low, which is kind of, that does remove, but again, that's distracting if you're playing competitively. That might be preferred actually when you're trying to focus on movement. You don't want stuff moving in your foreground. And we'll go back up to cinematic where the whole tree's shifting, moving, but we lose 71 to 86, so that's already another 15 FPS. Not 15, 71 to 86. 9. Oh, no, about 15, sorry. And then we go down to the blob effect, which gains another few. Actually, I think Epic's worth it if you want realism and you don't mind movement. I'll go Epic, but if you don't want realism and you want static, like you don't want moving shadows, then low is the obvious competitive choice. And this post-processing is actually crazy on cinematic. It adds a massive lens flare texture to light effects. So when you throw like grenades or see grenades getting thrown, I don't know if I have one here. No.
All raiders, we have our on screen. 5 minutes left.
It actually
Go find a way
causes
home. I repeat, 5
Let's move to that
a
location.
massive like lens flare, like a fire type effects. You'll see the lens flare or the animation effect. Instead of like a straight down lens flare effect, it becomes a star, and it's actually huge and super distracting. I don't know if we'll see one when I run across here. That you can do your own testing, but that's a personal preference. It doesn't really impact performance, apart from the ground details when you turn it down too low. So if I just quickly just go here again. So wait, post-processing is the lens flare effect, and then effects is the ground detail. So if I turn this down too low, you can see the ground start to get like it's being affected by this setting. But we'll leave it on cinematic because I'll probably need another video to really test properly. Or
Last warning. 2 minutes left. Head back immediately. The window is closing.
And just to show like the cinematic mix, like you've already kind of got a better idea. Wait, I need to reload earlier. I'll also quickly, as you can see here, like depending on the lighting of the section of the game you're in, then once we, for example, turn global illumination, RTX global illumination down to static, everything gets a little bit brighter, but we gain another 10 FPS. Actually, that's less of a hit than shadows and view distance, so it's not actually that bad. But it changes the lighting tone of the game, but you know, once you're playing for a while, you don't really notice anything. Like you notice it only in those static still shots where you're really staring at the difference, and oh, that looks darker, that looks slightly more saturated, or contrast. The contrast is better with it turned on. When you're just gaming and you're looking at your character and looking for stuff to loot enemies, you'd rather have the 10 FPS, in my opinion. You'd be better off. Because it doesn't look bad, it just looks wider. Oh. I ran out of time. I wasn't even paying attention. So yeah, that little loading symbol there gets stuck when loading into a map. Should have killed more stuff. That. It's okay, I'll jump back in. I'll see if the stuck loading symbol can get captured on the camera actually. If I turn this, I'll turn texture back up, and then jump back in. full gauge resolution here, and it's an easy test with that. And then we'll go from, like I'm already showing you the RTX off difference, which only gain 10 over the settings. We'll actually keep RTX up on epic or high, dynamic high, sorry. And we'll try to see if we can get our FPS up to 100, just turning the older settings in, but keeping as much cinematic as possible. But wait, it's froze. I don't know if that captured, like maybe on video the time, like did you see the loading symbol freeze? And I didn't want to talk during it because it might be also freezing ReLive. I'm not sure. But anyway, we'll turn RTX back up.
If you spot one of the surveyors trying to stun it
it's not a
before
bad
you engage,
RTX implementation
they're said to be
in this
full of
game
rare
for AMD.
optics, so we might both
For
come out
AMD
of this ahead.
optimization, dynamic high. And pop-in is subjective. Personally, if you have the headroom, you'd want it max, just because it's nice to have any type of LOD shifting. But then you've got the shifting shadow argument as well. It's like, if you don't want LOD shifting it, you'd have it at cinematic. Why would you keep this turned up that causes shadow shifting? You might as well turn that to low to like be consistent with your choices. But that's like an interesting contradiction there. Like you turn one up and turn one down to eliminate shifting in movement, and also foliage you turn down, because I'm pretty sure that would remove some foliage animation. I like this bush that's slightly shifting. No, it's still moving, but it did remove grass. Anyway, we'll keep that turned up. I think this might be the other performance setting. Anyway, we'll turn that back down to high because that's the least laggy option, and we'll see if we can find a lens flare effect. Did I get a... Nope, still didn't get a decent grenade. I was hoping to get something with a fire effect, because when I throw it, you'll see the sun can do it, but it depends on the time of day. The sun can also cause like a exaggerated effect with effects turned off. Exaggerated brightness effect, lens flare effect, sorry, when you get it at the angle where it's like, yeah, it's not doing it. It's not doing it on, turn something down. It must need sunset or something. Because we've got both effects of post-processing turned off to cinematic. Yeah, but I had it when the sun turns red, and then you run to, it's got to be a red effect like this. Kind of like that rocket. See how it's got like a star? But it's way worse when it's like a grenade that's close to you. It'll like take up half the screen. That's from having, I'm pretty sure it's effects turned off. Post-processing. Post-processing handles with lens flares. See if I can see. This is a white version of it. It's not as distracting. It's matching the sky. Nah, that's not something. That's just the one. See if we can at least prove that it's post-processing. Nope. Post-processing to ambient occlusion, so it must be effects. I guess that's just a fixed effect. It must be the red. It must be red, because I've tested it like in other off camera, and when it's red effects, that setting will literally turn off the lens flare of the red effect. Like, not lens flare, but the brightness and the animation of it will change from like just a glowing ball to a big star. What am I meant to be like?
Go to that location.
As you can see, the performance is decent. Like, even though we've got RTX turned off, you've probably seen RTX 5090 videos actually under 70 FPS when they have native, like a native 100% resolution without upscaling. So with upscaling at 75% 1080p, we actually get pretty decent performance. Rocketeer over there.
Hello?
And my mission is to get in here. Monitor the purification system. This. Hey. Find and return the blueprint. And this is to like the, this looks like some kind of secret. Sorry, I was like doing a mission. At least you can see the indoor FPS. This would be the coolest. There we go. Take this spot. I like how they made that intuitive. Like oh, where would a spy go? Is in the red tunnel, into the vents, and it takes you straight to it. Now, maybe we're done. Yay. But you can see also that having those settings turned up, like from my other videos where I had like, I was in full competitive mode, I was actually closer to 60C on the hotspot. And I think around 65C on the memory temp. And 52C on the CPU. So just by having some of these cinematic settings turned up, plus the RTX mostly, we end up with an overall average higher everything, higher power consumption, higher temps. But that shouldn't affect stability if your airflow and your fan curves and everything are good. Like as you can see, this is still perfectly acceptable. But it's not my preference. Like I wouldn't trade I wouldn't bother with we got a grenade. If I can turn the settings down more optimized, and there's just like little eye candy differences that don't matter to the actual gameplay, then I wouldn't bother wasting the, even just the power consumption alone is a good enough reason for me, because I don't sit there going, oh look at that reflection, that must be that light there. Like you still get the cube map reflections and stuff, which like the faked effects of cube map, ground reflections, and lighting effects, it still look pretty good. So now we'll go closer to, we'll see here, like even in this static lights up the whole building. So we keep going medium, just have a quick look. So this does look good, like the shadows and everything do look really good. But then turning that down doesn't look worse, just brighter. Wider. Well, no difference. Actually, a placebo. So if it makes no difference, is that even worth, you know what I mean? Like you're losing the FPS, you're running higher temps. At high, we're at 132 indoors. And it's static, it looks exactly the same in this lit up area. And we gain FPS. Is the power about the same? 134. Oh, okay, 34, 44, 54. So we gain like 21 FPS, 22 FPS. Just from having it on static, but indoors it looked exactly the same. Like, can we get a that here? Surely the red, like this area changes, right? Is RTX? No, it's just a outdoor lighting effect. It must be the like global illumination, but outdoor illumination, not global everywhere indoors. Just outdoors. And then we'll have one more here. Yeah, I can actually already make my choice based on. Yeah, everything just gets a bit darker. But look, you go from low, it gets a bit darker. But then you go back to medium, it gets more accurate, which is brighter. And then you go to high, and it gets darker again on the character model, like because there's a building behind me. It's more accurate again, but it's like changing back and forward from just turning it from low to medium. See, low is actually not realistic because there's a building behind me, and there should be light bounce, I guess. Oh no, low is closer actually. Medium's the one that's not accurate. It should be slightly dark. And then epic and cinematic. Oh no, there's no cinematic. Epic shows the proper like lighting for this structure behind me, and then if I go here, there should be some light bounce.
An arc orbiter is en route. The safe window is closing.
But that's weird, eh?
You have 10 minutes to return to Speranza. I repeat, 10 minutes.
So low is the most inaccurate. No, medium's the most inaccurate because low at least has some shadowing behind me. High has shadowing behind me. Epic has shadowing behind me. Medium is the one that brightens up for some weird reason. And then static is also similar to medium. But would you really notice? It's like turning on ambient occlusion in a way. Like the natural ambient occlusion effects that make stuff darker. See, like in there, I'm looking at this little building, but then if I turn it down to static, I can see in there much better. And I gain like a ton of benefit. So much so that I don't even need to worry about the other settings. Like I guess if I'm trying to push towards 140, then I would turn this down. That gets us 113, and then is it this one? We'll see which setting gets us into the 140 range. 114. Effects. Okay, must be effects. Because effects has volumetric sky that affects the clouds and everything. So that gave us a jump. But it's also affecting the ground, which is not good. So we had it on cinematic. That's 114 here. Epic gets us to 119. High affects the ground, but it still looks alright after it's well reloaded, and we get up to 120. Medium. 125. Not much difference from high to medium. And low. 120, 600. Actually, hardly any difference. So maybe high is good for effects. It also makes the ground look better. And post-processing. Let's see here. We do still have shadow turned up though, which affects the one range. The rest is a little bit fine. No, it did slowly creep up, and then the last one we get the better But you can see now we're up at, this is on cap 2, so you can actually see, I normally cap it to 150. Once we start peaking over 150 FPS, it's just unnecessary boosting. Oh, but look what that distraction that is. The heck? That's super annoying actually. It's flickering tree stuff. That's better. That's actually, like there's still shadows, but it's not super distracting flickering leaves and stuff. So we should go up to 160. Got it. But yeah, see the temps up at 69, 67, like pushing 70C on the hotspot. When you cap the FPS, which I'll show you soon, that stabilizes much lower. So I'm running uncapped now, so that sort of muddies it a little bit.
Snap blasts and trigger nades will stick to surfaces, including those pesky hornets. I smell success. Wow, you found outright water distillable?
Okay, so well, you should just stick to the same map, eh? Yeah. Because I don't want to say that like the temp's lower when you cap the FPS and then it's not actually lower. What am I missing here? That. This is a medium weapon. I have a flare type.
The workshop gas leaves on the windows. Tread carefully.
I'm sure I could one of these benches.
Heard Ben is making his signature. Just make sure to keep a bucket of water nearby, okay?
Jesus. Deck rewards. No, don't worry about it. Just go back into Blue Gate and I can show you the FPS cap difference on these temps and power consumption and everything. So we're at 275, but this is in the menus, but 276 watts and pushing 67, 68 degrees, 60 on the CPU. And you can see here, this doesn't get stuck anymore, or, yeah, no. It's doing like a slight version, but it's not getting full hard frozen, or is it? It still is. Maybe because I had it loaded and I have to like reload the game. But it doesn't do it when I have it on high by default. Eh. So yeah, we're at 160 FPS in the tunnel. Oh, I actually did have an FPS cap on, so it's even already pushing high temps without that cap on. And then if I set it to unlimited, we go up to 200 amps, it's even way higher than we needed. But just look at the GPU clock. This is with a 2400 megahertz cap, so uncapped. If it was uncapped, I would probably be up around 80C by now, 75, 80C. Heck, never noticed those before. That's scary. But yeah, top side you never hit those high numbers unless you turn everything to lowest. But you can see here, 130 FPS with a 2400 megahertz cap that is slightly being pushed, and 265 watts, 66, 68, 61 on the hotspot and M10 and CPU. And then when we cap it, actually I don't know if this particular view distance, because of there's still some cinematics turned up. But when we cap it to 150, and then just watch the temps and the power consumption over the match, they'll start to go down like way better, especially if you go into it. Like if I go here where it was going to 200. So you can see here, 64 on the hotspot, 68, 58. That'll actually keep going down because I've had it turned up. That'll keep going downwards towards 52. the CPU, and the GPU is just stable. Like it's not at 2400 megahertz, but it's got plenty of room in the tank for fighting, for throwing grenades and all that stuff. And once I go back and uncap this, you can just see the GPU temp 64 on the hotspot. And now it jumps up straight away, so 67. That'll actually climb for a longer match. And then once you've got the uncapped default frequency, you'll be in the 75 to 80 C range, and then you get into throttle territory, especially when you're playing for 1 hour, 2 hours. You know, 190 FPS. If you're on a 144 hertz or even a 165 hertz or 144 hertz ultra wide, it just ends up being wasted power for no reason. Like, and then you end up getting more FPS drop on the 1% lows. Even though I can't really demonstrate it without throwing a bunch of grenades and just wasting. I guess I could try throwing one. So let's see. I don't know if this will work. This is like a very controlled setting, but we're not in combat, which also matters. So 90-70% utilization, uncapped. The 2400 megahertz that I've capped it to is helping this, so it might not be as drastic, but 157, we need to get less of the light, the overhead lights coming into play. So 195 FPS, uncapped, 97%. Very controlled. We don't have all the variables, but other players or other teams affecting the CPU and the overall game dynamics. But let's see here. If the 1%, 99% is what we're looking at, so they're at 169. 155. And then you can see that bright effect. 147, 143. We're actually still in a very good range to not be hurt too much by that kind of effect. Like, plus I've got the 24 crank. You can see it's at 97. That could even be game engine limitation. But that wasn't bad. 145, 143. And then we cap it. This isn't really going to prove much, apart from the better efficiency side of it, because it really needs to be in an intensive combat situation. But if we cap it to 150, the 99% goes down slightly because of the way that it measures. It's not sitting at a higher FPS as much, so then it dips a slight bit more. So maybe it's 160. I remember testing this, and the actual limit, if you're aiming for like 144 FPS, is affected by how low you set your cap. So if you do want really, really consistent 1% lows, you got to set it up to like 180. And that'll get you into 144, you know, range. Let it stabilize. But you can see here, we're not sitting at 97. We've now got headroom for more effects during combat, which matters, like when you have like another team throwing and shooting at you at the same time. But more importantly, our power and everything will go down a little bit and stabilize, like the mem and hotspot have equalized too. And then we throw a grenade. So we're at 138, 158, 133. It keeps going up and down because of this flickering, this light effect in the ceiling. I don't know what that is. We could have just picked a really bad area to test. Like, I should have aimed over here. It's still game engine fluctuation, or possibly topside stuff happening. Oh, we did get a bigger drop at 160. So in hindsight, uncapping it might help maintain higher in a controlled scenario, but then how much does that hurt when you're at the top side or you're at 99% uncapped and then something happens on top with extra, you know, game engine bound effects happening? It's kind of hard to test. Like, I don't know, I'd need like other people to test with. But again, is that trade-off worth the extra power in temps? So if I just look at the power here, 287 once. Now the temps are climbing back towards 70C, the CPU's at 61. And then if I keep it at let's just say 150, because that's where I like to keep it. Like, regardless of it dropping slightly lower on the average, on the 99%. it's a consistent average anyway. And we go down about 30 watts on power, and you can see the hotspots going down 60. The CPU's going down. It was up at 61, now it's going down to 58. But over a longer session, it won't get hot in the first place. Like, it won't even go above about 55 on the CPU. Anyway, I'm being nitpicky. Like, to be honest, if you set it at 150, a personal preference to save a little bit of power, or you leave it uncapped, you're unlikely to be affected anywhere near as much as actual ping in game, like your server connection. It's not going to cause you to have FPS drop where you're lagging and stuff and you can't shoot or anything like that. That's more going to be related to the server and the hit registry and the ping. So once we're topside, let's see, on this map, we are still a little bit bound by some of the settings being turned up above Epic. Like you see, we're not even holding 128, so it's not a good test for the FPS cap specifics. You try putting it on 60. I think the problem is, wait, which one is it? One of these settings was tanking performance, so shadows, medium or high, turn that to low. Global illumination, medium or high. We'll turn that down. Yeah, it is on cinematic, so turn that down. And reflections, epic. Because cinematic is for eye candy recording, not competitive gameplay. Next slide. This guy does do good testing. That's why I'm using his benchmarking. He tests like every individual setting, and out of all the upscalers, TSR on AMD is the most stable, like where you get less shimmering grass and stuff like that. So I recommend watching these videos if you just want to have an optimization guide. This is more just a testing the capabilities of the hardware combination I'm running at UltraWide, for those that were curious, because I was testing with straight into competitive with my other videos. You can see here there's still a little bit of voltage dynamics coming into play. I'm pretty sure whatever is tanking performance a little bit is most likely the epic view distance, possibly epic reflection. If I turn that down one level, the low level of detailed trees, that's really annoying. Nah, it doesn't make any sense. Nope, it's just a really intensive map. Like the view distance and all the drones and stuff, we can't even hold one for free. It is a pretty high target though. 98% utilization. Probably the best thing we could do to try to push is to use the, this is like the default of how some of the upscalers work. They'll use 67%. But it still doesn't get us to the 140 remote range. Like 140 average, sorry, not 140 average. Now, because this video originally, I'm going to turn the mic off and play at actually eye candy settings, just for the sake of it, just for showing like how good the game can do with all the stuff turned up, and if I can actually play comfortably.
Appreciate it.
Hey!
Thank you!
Thanks!
with you? Hey!
Hello there! Yes! Hey, don't shoot! Hello there.
Nick, Olive.
Thanks.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Don't shoot!
An arc orbiter is en route. The safe window is closing. 10 minutes to get out of there. I repeat, 10 minutes.
I owe you! Okay. Hey, Raider! Don't shoot!
Let's head home at the cliffside air shaft.
5 minutes left. Go find your way home.
Negative.
I repeat, 5 minutes.
Hey! Hello there! Don't shoot! Hey, don't shoot! Don't shoot! Hey, don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Hey, don't shoot! Don't shoot!
The path is safe for travel, Radeon.
Hey, don't shoot!
Let's go.